Mr. Afshar has interviewed over 350 business leaders since 2013. His presentations, SlideShare presentations, have more than 1.5 million views. One can read his book about social business excellence. One of the top tech leaders and thinkers in today's world related to data science. Welcome, Mr. Vala, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much for your kind words, and congratulations to the Raise 2020 community. It's a privilege and an honor for me to be part of the closing session. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce. I'm going to talk to you about electricity and flow. And some of you may think I am a Vincent van Gogh fan or expert. I'm not. The reason I chose this background image is because this digital image was produced by an AI algorithm using a generative adversarial network, which is a class of machine learning. We have this beautiful image in the background, which is a reminder to me that even the most creative work, an artist, can have impact in terms of AI. My presentation to you today is about the power of movement, and how when we talk about artificial intelligence, we're really talking about technology that can help accelerate movement and growth as individuals, as organizations, and as companies. For centuries, it's important to know that we've had a silo mentality when it comes to business. Our firms are organized to capture resources, protect those resources, and extract as much value as we can from those resources. This silo mindset, it can be seen across all industries. From beginning of time, really, consumption, protection, and extraction of value is what governed our thinking in terms of value as individuals, as organizations, as companies. But as it was mentioned earlier, in the fourth industrial revolution, in the world of hyper-connected digital economy, we can no longer grow to our full potential with a silo mindset. And as last year Nobel Prize winner reminded us, really accessible solutions is how we make progress. It's about democratization. It's about access. Today, half of the human population in the world does not have internet access, just to reflect on the importance of accessibility and affordability. In fact, the stunning flow of technological advancements, and I mentioned in the last 27 years, because I believe the democratization and access to the web, which was made available in 1993, really unleashed the power and the importance of shifting away from a silo mindset. In fact, when you look at the technological revolution, of the last 70 years, and in terms of adoption over time, you almost see a perpendicular line in terms of the accelerated adoption. And I would argue that this started with perhaps the most important invention of the 20th century, which was the transistor, which was introduced in 1947. Coincidentally, the same year India celebrated its independence. And with the invention of the transistor, you see mainframe, web, big data and analytics, and of course, artificial intelligence and its adoption because of the low cost of processing and storage, which has created this incredible phenomena. What that means is that we're in the middle of an intelligence revolution. Every application we have that governs and guides our information technology sector and all other industries needs to be guided, needs to be predictive, needs to be proactive, and it needs to be prescriptive. We need to be able to tell our stakeholders, our employees, our customers, our business partners, our communities, what they can do today in order to achieve the goals that they have of tomorrow, prescriptive use of analytics. So what that means is we have now a digital consumer at the middle of how we interact with the world. Certainly a lesson in 2020 due to the pandemic is that every company, every industry must be digital. We had a major blind spot prior to the pandemic, and in my opinion, that blind spot was the power of decentralization. Overnight, at the beginning of this year, due to the pandemic, we shifted to a decentralized, digital-only construct in the way we engage with our stakeholders. And that was an incredibly important lesson for business in terms of what the future will look like. Now, in the US, we have seen 10 years of increased adoption in e-commerce, for example, just in the last 3 months. And this is not just a US phenomena, this is a global phenomena, including India. In fact, since the pandemic, There is a shock to brand loyalty. Consumers, customers are looking for safety and accessibility. In fact, 91% of consumers in India switched to a new brand since COVID-19 pandemic. That is the largest switch in terms of brands of any country in the world. Indian consumers, they have choices, they have voices, they have power to choose companies that can delight them during times of uncertainty, which means, again, that silo mentality must be challenged in terms of how we connect with our consumers. When I talk about a digital economy and the power of AI, I just wanted to give you a view of what 1 minute of internet looks like. We're sending almost 200 million emails every 60 seconds. We're delivering thousands of packages, millions of hours of new video. This is what the hyper-connected knowledge sharing economy looks like. And this is why power of AI comes into play, because we are producing more data than ever before. In my company, this is what 24 hours looks like at Salesforce. At Salesforce, we're producing nearly 14 billion AI predictions per day. We're creating almost 12 million service cases. So whether it's business to consumer or business to business, one company, Salesforce, has this amount of volume every 24 hours to give you a sense of the power of data in terms of value creation and ability to connect with your stakeholders in a meaningful way. Now, there was a reference about data and oil. When you look at the last century, in fact, the last 10 years, by market capitalization, the most valuable companies in the world historically were oil companies. In fact, 10 years ago, there was only one tech company that was in the top 10 most valuable but market cap. If you look at today, 7 of the 10 most valuable companies are information technology companies. And they are in the business of flowing resources and values and goods and services to their consumers. Think about Alibaba last year sold $38 billion of goods in one day. That's a company that's designed for movement, whether it's Apple, Amazon, Microsoft. In my opinion, when we look at 2030 and the list of the most valuable companies, I believe the top 30 will be technology companies. So every company is a digital technology company, regardless of what sector you're in this new normal. Now, some people talk about data as oil. I believe data is like water. It is essential for life, and it needs to be clean and accessible to everyone. Data is key to AI economy, and this is why India is poised to be a superpower when it comes to AI. You have 600 million unique users connected to the internet. You have an opportunity in the next 5 to 6 years to be a $6 trillion consumer spend power in India. Every 3 seconds, a new person in India connects to the internet for the first time. What that means is that 600 million today will be over 1 billion unique connected users to the internet in perhaps just the next 5 years. This also means India is poised to be the second largest GDP in the world, only behind China and ahead of the US. So the power of India and the fact that 80% of the population will be under the age 44, you are the most advanced connected society in the world. 1/6 of humanity is in India. So data will fuel the AI hub vision that you have in terms of expanding to the world. Now, in my opinion, when I think about silos, what the new norm will look like and the opportunity for companies to grow and individuals, it's thinking about flows, it's design thinking principles about flow. So it's not consumption of resources and domain expertise, but actually capture and flow through to your stakeholders. So how do we reach our full potential? That's the question we need to be asking. We know it's about movement. That's the power of AI, in my opinion. So we need to remind ourselves of the most autonomous, most automated intelligent system, and that's the human body. Think about the circulatory system we have. It's the pulmonary, which is our lungs that brings oxygen. It's our cardiovascular, which is our heart that disseminates nutrients to our system. And it's our systemic, our arteries and veins. The pulmonary, cardiovascular, and systemic make the circulatory system. When I think of the heart and the lung as pumps, that's what departments are in businesses: sales, services, marketing, IT, commerce. We capture resources, we analyze resources, and we disseminate what we think is goodness for our business. We have filters to make sure good nutrients gets through our system. AI is the power of filtering and making sure proper insights is being delivered to our businesses. So the future business needs to be designed like a living organism. And there was references to an enriching environment like startup communities, corporate venture capital, our partners in ecosystem. We need water, food, and drink to survive. Businesses need to have partnership and enriching environments for new sources of talent, new sources of income, new sources of business model innovation, new partnerships. We cannot do this alone. And that's why silo mentality will not help our companies compete in a post-digital economy. A reminder that all living systems are flow-based. All living systems circulate resources through their organisms and their environments. So in fact, when we talk about health of individuals, we talk about relationship based on flows of value, learning based on flows of knowledge, mental well-being in terms of psychological flow. We talk about a healthy individual based on flow principles. And we also talk about flow in terms of healthy business. We have internal flows, how we manage our culture, our talent, our process and innovation. We have external flows in terms of customer value, partner value, ecosystem value. These flows are bidirectional in nature. The way we manage our Salesforce business in India is focused on these internal values and external values based on flow. So an example of removing friction and flow, I would use Amazon. Amazon in the next couple of years will have 3,000 stores where you walk in the store, you pick up the merchandise and you walk out. Minimum friction, optimal user experience. Optimal flow is minimum friction. So this is an example of a company with, again, $1 trillion market value that's been in the business of reducing friction and optimizing flow. I'm going to, in my opinion, take you to 10 years in the future. I believe that the closest man-made invention to a living organism is an autonomous vehicle. When you look at the sensing, perception, decision, and actuation logic that make up an electric vehicle, and an autonomous electric vehicle, and I'm going to use Tesla as an example, because I believe Tesla is going to be the first $1 trillion market cap auto manufacturer. Because Tesla is not a car company. They're a data company. They're a software company. They're an ecosystem company. And the building blocks of a Tesla autonomous vehicle, I believe, is the future of business. I believe the flow principles of connection, distribution, autonomy, mobility, and the autonomous design, and the combination of technologies that create this autonomous design are based on flow principles. The future of enterprise is going to be an autonomous enterprise where there's a cognitive download from humans to machines, and you are co-creating value in this human and machine-led enterprise. This is the autonomous enterprise. So when I think of principles of flows, and this is based on 2 years of research following the fastest growing companies that are clients of Salesforce, I believe there are 7 principles that create this optimal positioning for growth and movement. It's connections. When I think of artificial intelligence, the ability to analyze structured and unstructured data will help companies identify unique new connections, but also bolster existing connections, because you are able to build your anticipatory muscle and create those prescriptive use of analytics where you're able to proactively delight your stakeholders, creating a longer lasting connections. I think about distribution. Distribution, AI will help us orchestrate multi-cloud application and on-premise legacy solutions, creating an environment where, any growing company, for example, knows customer service is not a department. Customer service is everybody in the business, sales, service, commerce, IT, working together to anticipate the needs of your customers. So distribution becomes key. Integration is important. Again, looking at the multiple applications, an average enterprise has 900 applications. That's part of their business, an average large enterprise. Imagine the discontinuity and the data silos that exist if you're not integrating on average 900 business applications in order to create minimum friction and optimal flow. Autonomy. Autonomy is about access, it's about intelligence. When I think about Soul, the self-organized learning environment developed by Sugata Mitra, inventor of the hole-in-the-wall learning experiment, this is an example for me of fantastic autonomy that was led by thought leadership in India. I think about mobility. We have to establish trust. The only way companies can establish trust is speed to value. In order to create speed to value and be relevant, you have to create mobility. One lesson in 2020 post-pandemic is you should be able to work from anywhere. As long as you don't have physical dependence with your job, you should be able to use smart devices. And as long as you have internet, you should be able to work from anywhere. This is the power of mobility that's unleashed by AI. Continuity. This is a hyper speed computer looking at the movement of a master martial artist. And it's about agile and low friction. But the same high-speed camera captures the micro movements of a master martial artist. Industries need to know that the power of AI is to get that augmented intelligence, not automated, but augmented intelligence, so that every movement you make includes excellence in execution. Your execution velocity, speed, and direction at micro levels in services, in sales, in marketing, in IT, in commerce, must all have this augmented intelligence in order for you to make well-informed decisions in order to meet the needs of your stakeholders. Holistic success. This is, I think, one of the most important differences between silo mentality and flow principles. When I think of the Makabari tea estates in Darjeeling, world's first tea factory established in the 1800s, the farmers are artists. The workers own piece of the estate. They have free primary education. They have community libraries and computer centers. This is an example of holistic success. So as companies think about using AI, they need to be thinking about how do you provide value to all your stakeholders in an inclusive manner. This is a very important element of flow-based design thinking principles. So as you look at silo-based versus flow-based, it's technologies like AI and machine learning that enable you to shift from consumption, protection, and extraction of maximum value to really a new mindset that allows you to connect to your stakeholders in a meaningful way. So AI accelerates flow. Based on my research and the companies that I have the privilege of working with, the ones that have the fastest growth trajectories recognize the combination of emerging technologies is what allowing them to move fast and adopt. Now, the founder of my company believes that, it's your culture, it's your guiding principles, but also the importance of AI. We believe AI is a human right. We believe that if you don't have access to AI, you're not going to be as healthy, you're not going to be as wealthy, and you're not going to be able to compete. So in no other technology, some still debate whether internet should be a human right, which I believe obviously the answer is yes, but AI is so impactful that it should be a human right. Some of the biggest and most influential executives in the world believe it's the most important technology that they've ever worked on. So there's no question or no debate in terms of the potential of AI in terms of shaping our future. When you look at the global investments in AI, this is as of October 2020, there's in 13 different categories in AI, there's been over $104 billion in investment in 70 countries. What's interesting in these 13 categories and the global AI investments in AI is that when you look at the maturity of these technologies and the investments, there are no specific categories that are mature. Other than speech translation, most of these categories in AI are at the beginning stages. It's really the last 5-6 years where we've seen incredible movement in terms of investments in AI. But this is a sign that investments in startups is a sign in terms of the trajectory and the impact of technology. So I was very pleased to see the startup competition in Raise 2020. We need to invest in growing the startup ecosystem. And my prediction that 104 billion, when we are here this time next year, we're probably going to touch 200 billion in terms of this number will double, in my opinion, in the next 12 months. So investments in AI's companies is critical to our success. Now, the honorary prime minister, at the opening ceremonies talked about building the bridge between artificial intelligence, human intelligence. What's important when we talk about human intelligence, it's not just IQ, it's EQ. It's our emotional intelligence. It's our LQ, our love quotient, how we love our communities, our societies, our colleagues, friends, and family. So when we talk about overall human intelligence, emotional and intelligence is key. So the path moving forward has to be paved with trust. When we talk about, we talked about from the world economics point of view in terms of privacy and trust, This is key in terms of establishing relevance in a post-digital economy. So it's not technology that's inherently good or bad, it's what we do with it. Again, this is the founder of Salesforce.com, Mark Benioff, and at World Economic Forum earlier this year at Davos, he talked about ethical and humane use of technology, and it's our responsibility to ensure proper use of powerful technologies like AI. So at my company, there are categories of research, and I highly recommend any company that's committed to AI should have a research body so you can stay in touch with the latest achievements and work that's happening. We're focusing on vision, language, and voice wrapped around an ethical and humane use of technology framework. We believe computer vision is going to be used across all lines of business, all companies of all sizes. In fact, as machines are able to see and sense, you're going to see a greater adoption of an environment with machines and humans creating value at the speed of need. We believe natural language processing is how we teach robots and machines to understand the human language, and there's multiple categories of science within NLP. I was really pleased to see that the startup raise included a focus on NLP. This is, it will have profound impact in the service industry with use of chatbots and other technologies like virtual digital assistant. This will revolutionize the information technology space, in my opinion. We also believe that voice is the new user interface. We used to use command line and you used to point and click and drag. You know, anyone who has children or teenagers or younger, you realize the UI is now voice. And 1 in 3 homes in the US has smart speakers. So you're going to be speaking to devices. When you're in your autonomous car and you're safe, you're going to be speaking and conducting commerce and doing business. The relationship changes from driving the car, which is 100% of what we do today, to now you're an explorer, you're a traveler, you're a business person. And that's all done through voice as a user interface. But when we think about the framework in terms of ethical use at Salesforce, we think about responsibility. It's funny, when I put this slide, I thought, wow, it says rate, and it was very close to raise conference. In fact, if I change transparent to see-through, it would actually be raise. And this is our framework, but it's about responsibility, it's about accountability, it's about inclusiveness. Inclusiveness is important because algorithms are just our beliefs and ideas codified. So you have to have a diverse group of developers, diverse in gender, in ethnicity, in background, in order to make sure you're not introducing biases into your algorithms. So inclusiveness, transparency, and empowerment. This is the framework that we use at my company in terms of ethical use of technology. In fact, we have a chief ethical humane use officer at my company. I think every company needs to have a chief healthcare officer because every company is a health company now due to the pandemic. You need to have a chief ethical officer, and we also have a chief equality officer to ensure inclusion at the highest level, including our most senior executive leaders at our business. Values create values. Your beliefs become your thoughts becomes your words become your actions and habits, and values ultimately your destiny. So when we talk about privacy and trust and ethical use of AI, your brand, your growth trajectory, your relevance to society is going to be predicated by your values. And at my company, you know, I'm proud to show this because we're one of the fastest growing software companies in the world. But what I'm most proud of is being known as the best place to work and, the most giving back and most sustainable company. Doing well and doing good are not mutually exclusive. So values do create values. And it's not just the growth of my company, it's the impact that Salesforce has on the global economy. We're going to add millions of new jobs in the very near future. We're going to add almost $1.1 trillion to the global GDP. And I think about our impact of my company in India alone. We are going to create, billions of dollars in incremental GDP. We're going to create 1.3 million new jobs indirectly with our customer and partner ecosystem, but directly we're going to add 548,000 new jobs in the near future. And in the next couple of years, we're committed to training 250,000 students. Education is the key to reduce this digital divide. According to the World Economic Forum, only 15% of companies, 15% of companies are ready for the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is the blending of the physical world and the digital world, using and leveraging combination of technologies like quantum computing, distributed ledgers and blockchain, immersive technologies like augmented and virtual reality, AI and machine learning and deep learning and computer visioning and smart robotics, Internet of Things, so 3D additive manufacturing. So when you think of these incredibly new emerging technologies, it's no longer about mobile, social, cloud, and analytics. Those are table stakes. We've been talking about that for 10 years. It's these new emerging technologies that's going to separate companies in terms of their success in the fourth industrial revolution. But it starts with every company that participated in Raise 2020 should make a commitment to educating its stakeholders, employees, customers, partners, and businesses. According to the World Economic Forum, individuals need 101 days of professional training from now until 2022 to be relevant in a post-digital economy. Think about that, 101 days of formal training. In 1998, the British rowing team was not successful in competitions. They would not rank in the top. And they were concerned about the 2000 Sydney Olympics. So the captain of the team said they needed to change their habits and their behavior in order to show some success in the Sydney Olympics. So he asked the 8 men to ask themselves every day this question: will it make the boat go faster? Does your diet, does your exercise, does the amount of sleep, who you socialize with, will it make the boat go faster? These 8 men for 2 years governed everyday habits by asking this one question: will it make the boat go faster? And in the 2000 Sydney Olympics, they won gold. It's amazing how focus accelerates outcomes. We need to focus on understanding the impact of AI, but more importantly, the ethical use of AI, and even more importantly, why we do what we do. What are we going to do in agriculture and education and healthcare and every other industry? Because there is no sector that's going to be immune to AI. I started my title slide with the world of art, and now algorithms are creating beautiful art, which, by the way, are selling for millions of dollars. So there's a great appreciation for digital algorithms creating art. So what's the question we should be asking the 80,000 participants of the Raise 2020 Summit? I would suggest maybe the question is, will it increase the value of flow? The next time you hire someone, the next time you choose a partner, the next time you invest in technology, ask yourself, is this going to increase the value of flow for my teachers in education, for my farmers in agriculture, for my doctors and nurses in healthcare? Ultimately, everything that we do should increase the value of flow. It is about movement. We walk together, we move together, we think together, we resolve together, and together we take India and the globe forward. This is about a movement revolution, and it will be powered by artificial intelligence. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce, and I thank you for your time.